Step back a little bit. What's up? Hey, yo, it is that time that we've all been waiting for. We are waiting for the interview with the one and only badass legend himself, Brandon Blacker of fucking Suburban Paranoia. And I'm just we're and at the moment we're just waiting for him to figure out the camera. All right, so I'm Hex, and this has been, as you can, we are on all platforms. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Um, Likely right now, I am like literally on your board on Facebook. Go ahead and click that, and go ahead and just post in it. There is going to be a chat overlay that's like that, so be sure to post in questions, comments, talk shit. I don't care. So yeah, so that is the story for right now. This podcast is going to be sponsored by Graffiti Dogs. It's also by the Peer Recovery Art Project and Trevino's Barbershop. So at the moment, we are just waiting for our guest, who's still figuring out this camera. So I wanted to say that this is actually a big opportunity for me uh, with in this regard, because Brandon has been actually helping me a lot with this, helping a lot with Restream and with the streaming setup. And I figure that it's just a big thing. I already did Dave Ussery, and now I'm doing Brandon Blacker. I guess you could say um, I'm hitting the podcast with the podcasters with a podcast. Um, so yeah. As you can tell, again, we are on all forums. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and I will be asking questions of Mr. Brennan Blacker of Suburban Paranoia about different questions. And here he is, everyone. Let me introduce you, the one and only Brandon Blacker. How you doing? I think you're muted, my friend. Are you muted? I think you're muted. Can you hear me? Uh-oh, I think we're having issues with our commentary. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? We're having issues with our sound right now. You can hear me, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I think we're having might be my Bluetooth. Hold on. Oh, that's the reason. Hold on a sec. Okay, let's try that again. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
Hello.
There we go. Let's try that again. My issue was on my Bluetooth. That was embarrassing. Wow, that's a first.
Hey,
Okay, Mr. Brandon Blacker, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Just kind of kicking back, hanging with the family. How are you? Is it Chris or is it Christopher? What do I call you?
CJ, Hex. I got a bunch of names. Just pick one. Just don't call me late for dinner.
All right, sounds good to me.
So let's just crack into it, because there is actually quite a bit that I want to discuss with you. First off, I want you to tell people where they can reach you. That's the very first thing that that is a part of this.
Okay, man. Well, basically the easiest place to reach me is actually Instagram. Like I use Facebook, I'm all over that, but that's more of a family thing. But Instagram is more of a everybody kind of thing. So you can find me on Instagram at the real Brandon Blacker. So go follow me and follow my exploits of being in a band, doing a podcast, having a family, and just doing all the everyday life kind of stuff. And then also, I'm in a band, as we're going to talk about. So you can find my band, Suburban Paranoia, on all social media platforms worldwide. So you'll have no problem finding us there. And also, I'm in another band where I'm actually working on a brand new album for it. It's called Giving the Devil His Due, or GTDHD. And you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/GTDHD.
Okay, I was like, you actually posted that a few times. I thought that was just another band. I didn't know that was your band. That's actually pretty cool. I'll be sure to check. I'll be sure to check that out. As I hope the rest of our viewers will also. So I want to first off, I want to give you your dues. I want to thank you for helping me with the streaming platform. As you are yourself are on Talking Shop with the Boss in the Box, along with Dave Ussery from Nothing But Losers.
Yes, and I love that boy very much. So I'm happy to be a part. Like basically, like we started that podcast as just a hey, we love pro wrestling, so
Mm-hmm.
let's just talk about pro wrestling and do that every single week on a podcast. And it took a little while to get him into it, but once we did, the rest is history. We're about 107 episodes in, so it's it's cool. And it's also a way of life because we kind of realize that in order to get a podcast going, you have to be regular. You have to, and
Right.
not fiber regular, but like you got to be regular in order to generate an audience and just get people out there to watch your podcast. And so far, we're very happy. We've generated some super cool sponsors.
You, you've
We
also
have
actually, yeah, you've also grown also some massive guests also as your last one was the one and only Rob
Robert.
correct,
It's okay.
Robert
Yeah.
Robert Calhoun from Wormflesh, and then before that Skin Lab. I have to say you are actually you bring up some you actually make the rest of us in our podcast uh, followers, I guess you want to put it that way. You're the pioneers of such a hit, and it's actually really refreshing seeing. I guess being we are in the social distancing, everyone's freaking out about each other, and then there are some people like yourself who are like, "Hey, you know what? This is opportunity to do this," and you are podcasting. I mean, when podcasting was around before COVID, everyone's like, "Oh, it's a radio show," and now everyone's doing it, and you are one of the pioneers from
Well,
here, no less.
I appreciate that. I wouldn't say I'm a pioneer by any means, but like it's been an awesome way to entertain ourselves during the pandemic and before the pandemic. Like we've been doing this for a little over 2 years now, so it's been a lot of fun. And it pretty much just started out with just us ribbing each other every single week, just doing goofy stuff. Like we've literally had episodes where we've just done like an hour of like drinking and like voice impressions and things like that. So just trying to mimic and imitate our favorite pro wrestlers and things like so it's
Right.
um yeah, man. So it's been entertaining. It's been fun, and as far as I'm concerned, we're here to stay. I mean, we're gonna keep going with
There
it
you
as long
go.
as we can
There you
take it.
go.
Yeah,
So onto your onto the question of your band. Actually, I was doing some actually thinking today. As a promoter myself, it's something to ask you guys. Do you guys come out to the Central Valley very often? I mean, you this is supposed to be like a podcast based in the 209, but you told me yourself you're more located in the East Bay, but you have life out here in the 209. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, kind of. I mean, it helps that I'm friends with awesome people out from that area. Um, and I'm sorry, I'm posting so people can join our stream as we speak. Um,
That's all good.
so like it helps that I have friends in cool places. So like out in Modesto, of course, I've got my friends in Nothing But Losers. Mister Dave Lunchbox Ussery is in that band, as long as
Cat.
well as Joseph Rush and Aaron Jones, like the rest of those guys. You got Glitch Kill, there's so many bands from that area, Cursed. Um, and I get to come out there every so often. Giving the Devil's Due has been out there as well, with help from, once again, Dave Ussery, um, and he drums for me in that band with me. And Suburban Paranoia, where we've played many a Modesto show, mostly at the OP, the other place, or we've played at
Right.
we played at Spinnakers, or we've played at Yosemite Lanes. Um, and that was fun. That's actually where I met Mr. Dave Ussery himself, at Yosemite Lanes.
Could you tell me a little bit about your impression of the other place? I mean, a lot of people who are probably tuning are like the OP. What is the OP? They'll probably know that it's a bar, or it's the Yosemite area is dead to a lot of people. They know probably that there's a bowling alley there, but that's it. And if they know of the OP, they think it's you know dark, dingy, et cetera, et cetera. It's all negative. But
Mhm.
from people like you, people like me, people in the music industry, it's our home. We know what it's like. We know how people act there, and we know how to get how the activities are out there. Tell us in your own word your impression of the OP and Spinnakers, if you will.
Okay, so like the OP, I played a lot of places. Playing different places out of state, going on tour, those kind of things. Like the OP is exactly what you want out of a dive bar, and I use the term dive bar lovingly because uh, the difference between like a real nice bar and a dive bar is basically what kind of people you have in it, and the people in dive bars are my kind of people. So people who want to hang around and drink beer and party and mosh and literally bleed on the dance floor, no pun intended.
Right.
um
That's how you were doing there.
yeah, no pun intended there. And, like the OP is a great place, habited by a lot of awesome Modesto and Central Valley regulars. um and that the floor is always sticky. Excuse me, the beer is always cheap, and this goes for Spinnakers too. Like Spinnakers was is pretty cool. I played there 3 or 4 times, um, and but the OP is where the real vibe is.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, I will say that personally, being the kind that actually promoted at both places, I honestly have to say I have more of a positive view of promoting towards Spinnakers, mainly because that was where my 2020 show happened, and that was a lot more popular than what I did at the OP, which got nobody.
yeah.
But all in and in itself, my memories follow both sides, and honestly I couldn't pick one or the other. I've had both experiences on Spinnakers, where I first got to meet Mari of Perfect Nightmare. I
Mhm.
got to see which in turn turned into Harlot Exile, or some of them, Dragons of the West, Nothing But Losers, And then when you switch over to the LP, you have people like Forever Obscured, The Royal Order, and all those harder bands that are on that side. So honestly, you can't you it's apples and oranges. You can't pick one or the other. They both have the same interest. And when this goes back, I plan on doing more promoting. I'm gonna try to like do a pattern when I'm promoting, like doing it at OP and then at Spinnakers. But I couldn't pick one or the other. But that's my opinion.
Well, the fact that you're getting into promoting and promoting shows is awesome. And when you promote shows, I've been doing it for years. I feel your pain, man. There's an art to it. Uh, there's a certain je ne sais quoi.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I actually have no idea what that means, but
I
you know,
don't either, but it's a fun thing to say.
but it's cool though because like it allows you to express yourself, but at other people's expense. So if you're doing something really cool and it turns out great, that means you did something amazing. But if it turns out bad, that means you did something bad. So that becomes a learning process.
Right, right, and I'll admit I've had both of them. Honestly, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter. It's in the idea of being a tech, you're dealing with the promoter, but when you are the promoter, your boss is the public, and that just makes it 10 times scarier.
Oh gosh, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So
That's why you got to be your own boss.
right. So back to suburban paranoia. Let's talk a little bit about your music. You are in a sense, from what I've heard, you are metalcore, or are you thrash metal, or are you something in between, or what exactly on do you consider your music to be?
I personally would consider it's really hard because here let me take you down memory lane a little bit. So
There you go. There you go.
Suburban Paranoia, I've only been in the band for about 6 years. Suburban Paranoia has been around since 1990. So our guitar player Daniel Aruda, he's the founder of the band, and he's been doing it ever since. And the band is your quintessential like thrash band, a band that followed Slayer, a band that followed old Exodus and old Megadeth kind of stuff. And over time, it's pretty much just evolved. Like ever since I joined the band, like I have a very deep root in like hardcore and metalcore. So ever since I joined the band, things kind of became a melting pot. So the thrash
Hmm.
metal, traditional thrash metal that we had, kind of turned into, groove metal and some thrash core.
That's cool. Yeah.
I like the term thrashcore. It's still very thrash. Like it has a lot of Pantera elements, it has a lot of Slayer elements, sure, but now it has more newer age elements to it.
Hmm.
It- you know, and I can never be involved in something if it didn't have any of my little spin on it. You know what I mean?
Right. One of the things that I noticed about your scream, that's a really big thing I wanted to talk about you tonight, is your screams.
Mhm.
When in the very and not the very beginning, but when I first started listening to Suburban Paranoia, it did give me a thrash hard, like Slayer, Testament, Metallica feeling, if you can call Metallica ish on thrash. I
It
believe they were
used to be.
talking about, yeah, they were talking a lot about that. But then as the more I listened to it, your screams went from being like shrieks like they did in traditional thrash. You went into yells like they do in metalcore. What was the sort of, transformation from that? And was that open to your band, or did you do that?
Um, it was more along the lines of me because I've always been a front man of sorts. I've always been a singer of sorts, but it's also me adapting to any situation I'm in. So For example, in Suburban Paranoia, when I joined, I was just the front man, just the singer. And then that turned to me being the singer and bass player, then me being the singer and guitar player. And now I am the singer and drummer. So every single time I switch an instrument, I have to kind of
Adapt.
adapt. Absolutely, man. Like, especially now, dude, playing drums and singing is hard. And
Honestly,
go ahead.
I have to say that Harlot Exiled actually does the same thing. I've noticed is that they'll have is that she'll be is that the singer will be up front, sound making her vocals,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the back you hear the shrieking. You're like, who's saying that? And it's the drummer who has a mic attached to his handle, and
Mm-hmm.
he's screaming into it and hitting the drums. And I'm like, that's really innovative. But oh my god, you're like, how do you? We all know, we all see when bands drum, we all, and I'm pretty sure it's 10 times harder than the way it's seen. So when you think about it that way, putting your face to a mic while not seeing the drums and still doing it at the same point of your other instruments and players, it's insane.
Well, okay, think about this. So, um, I'm not I'm not a skinny dude. Unfortunately, I'm not in the best shape, admittedly. However, imagine getting on a treadmill, and this is what it's like to sing and play drums in a thrash metal band. Okay, so imagine getting on a treadmill, right? And you put that treadmill to maybe about a 3.5, and you're kind of jogging. Now, when you're jogging, imagine singing an entire song. Imagine singing an entire song while you're jogging, and then put it to 5.0 and start running, and then sing, and then do
Amazing.
that. Do that for an hour or more, and tell me that doesn't get tiring. So it's tough to do, and to fully answer your question, like from like shrieking to like kind of metalcore yelling. I did that. I started doing that more when I played the drums because I mean I can keep a melody when I'm playing drums, but like it's just so easier, at least in a live setting, to do yells.
I imagine that, and actually, it sounds like major multitasking. That's what it sounds to me. Like I can't even chew gum and pat my head at the same time. You're doing that on a 20 scale.
Can
Yeah, right.
wait, hold on. Yeah,
Right.
I guess I can do it. Okay.
Yes. So, all right. So so you are clearly from an age that, I want to say age. That's not meant to sound old. You are clearly from a time where where thrash was king. So tell us some of your stories that brought you to this point.
um. So, in what term? Like just being in a band, or
Yeah,
liking, like?
I guess put it in a way that is try. Let's try stories. Let's try stages. Let's try to talk about some of the stories of your stages that has actually made you, that has actually brought you up. Put it that way, if you can.
Okay. So I'll put it like this. So uh, I'll tell you the story of uh how I started.
There you go.
Okay, so way back when I was about 14 years old, and some friends of mine in high school, we decided, like, we were really big into the Misfits. We were really big into AFI, Tiger Army, just kind of dark hardcore punk rock kind of stuff.
Right.
Uh, we were really into it, and we made this band called Bloodstool. and and it was one of those situations where we're literally sitting around the room. We're like, hey, man, we should make a band. All right. What do you want to do? Well, I have a drum set. Okay, you play drums. Well, I have a guitar. Okay, you play guitar. All right. Well, I mean, you can play bass. Can you sing? No, I can't sing. Okay, you play bass, and then I'll sing. Like, all right, cool. So we literally made a horror punk band, and down to the point, like I got pictures somewhere where we have like black makeup on, and black eye makeup, and it was terrifying. It was really bad. Like our guitar player's like wearing fishnets. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It was just really cool to see. But it kind of started from there. Like our very first show was in a backyard playing with RU36. I don't know if you've ever heard of that band.
That sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure it was said to me before, but I know the general position of it. And like, it's hard. It's like hard death metal, isn't it? Isn't it sort of like that?
It's kind of like rock, punk rock kind of stuff. It's
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
they are very infamous around our area over here. So,
Hmm.
but they got pretty big for a little while. But our first show was playing in a backyard with them, and it just kind of went from there. Like I realized I had, we're gonna get a little deep here for a second. Um, I had a very tough childhood,
Right.
and I found an outlet in music. And I'm going to sound a little corny because most like longtime musicians kind of say the same thing, like, oh, it
Believe
was
it or
my.
not, it's a pastime for a lot of my guests to actually go like this. I mean,
That's
please
good.
do.
Um, so I, I had a really tough childhood, so this was like doing music was a huge outlet for me. Um, singing on stage, writing lyrics. Um, my relatives have a long history of doing like drugs and alcohol and substance abuses and going to jail. This was my version of not doing any of that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, man. And it progressed from there. I went from Bloodstool to another band called Burning Liberty, and then The Burning. And then from there, I went on to a band called Clinch Fist, to a band called Ruckspin. Shit. And then back to Clinch Fist. Severed the Truth. I've been in so many bands, all the way up until Giving the Devil His Due and then Suburban Paranoia. So the stages in which all of that came about, band life has always given me some sort of purpose and meaning. So
There you go.
being in a band has allowed me to like keep myself occupied, stay out of trouble, and not be a dipshit.
There you go. There you go. That
Does,
actually makes
does
that's
that
the
answer your
idea.
question?
That very much answers my question. It's the way that you put it is that music is your anti-drug. That's a
Quite literally.
that's a good way of putting it. So with all of these, I have to ask, what was your favorite place to play, or when was it that you began going to places to play?
Oh man. Shoot. So my very first like real venue I played was, I think, the Concord Depot
Ah,
out here in Concord. It's definitely and sadly not here anymore. It closed many years ago. But Bloodstool and Burning Liberty played that place a whole bunch of times. But that was one of the first places, and it was 21 and up, so it was really cool that they let like us like high school kids go in there and play, and they didn't give a fuck. But my favorite place that I've ever played is kind of a tie. And I played some really cool, really, really cool places. Um, and I was blessed to be able to play some of these cool places. Like out here in the Bay Area, I'm really happy I got to play a place called iMusicCast that was in Berkeley.
Hey, that's actually one that I was hoping you'd say, but I couldn't exactly remember it off the top of my head. There's a bunch of places out there in the San Francisco East Bay area, and in my opinion, the East Bay is the venue central. I mean, they literally have between in the BART Central, because I take the BART and to get to airports. That's where I do. Is I take planes every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I actually take the BART to get to and from to go from to go from oh crud to basically go from here over to San Francisco Airport,
Hmm?
and there is dots on the map that Bart goes to, which are cities. And inside those cities, I'm sure are at least 5 venues. And that just points just how big the venue area is actually focused
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
the East Bay.
for sure. So like, yeah, back in the day, iMusicCast was a big one. This was during the time of like, this was during the time of like MySpace, if you remember that at all.
Oh my god, MySpace. I don't know how many times I've heard of it. Again, I was more of a Gaia Online anime fan when MySpace got, oh, you should be on MySpace. No. No,
Okay, okay.
not me. But I know of it enough, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, during that time frame, that's when that venue was around. Blake's on Telegraph was really cool. Rooster's Roadhouse, that was all right. Like, God, I played so many places, but my favorite place I've ever played was one that's been on my bucket list forever, and I finally got to play it like 3 years ago, I think, and I'm so happy I did because it closed down, and I'm really sad about that. Was Slim's in San Francisco.
There you go. That's a big one, I've heard.
It is. It was a really, really fantastic venue, and it actually hosted a lot of memories for me. I only got to play it once, but I have been there so many times. Uh, I was there throughout most of my young adulthood. So to hear that it shut down still breaks my heart.
Ouch. I understand that. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that for sure. I can't exactly say that there's one band one venue that's close to my heart, but let me tell you, Fat Cat was definitely one of the first that I actually got to see, so I guess that's close. So
So
when we closed that, when they closed Fat Cat, that's probably the best I've had to feeling crushed when a venue
yeah,
closed, right?
and I got to play there once actually, and my God, so that that so my one and only experience performing at the Fat Cat was actually a bad experience. It was so I don't remember who put on the show, but there was like my band at the time plus like two other bands, and there was nobody there. So like we
Oh,
and let me emphasize the fact that when I say there was nobody there, I mean there was just the bartender.
ouch.
Yeah, dude. So we set up, we played, and the other band stayed outside. Nobody came in.
Oh, I
We
can't imagine that. I can't. That's harsh. That's ouch.
Yeah, so we came and drove an hour and a half. Like it was nice playing the giant ass stage that the Fat Cat had. That was awesome. And they also had at the time they had like this long catwalk that came from the stage, and so it was like a lot of room to move around, which was awesome. But there was nobody to play to. So, the band stayed outside, so we drove an hour and a half. We played and we surveyed the situation, and we just packed up and went home.
Oh my god, I am so sorry. I mean, one of the greatest national, or what was the greatest national venue of Modesto, and you had a crappy time of it.
Yeah, but I've been to a few cool shows there, so that was fun. I got to go to the very last metal show that they had at Fat Cat.
You mean the was it the Fat Cat's Last Stand or one of them?
Yeah, it was with Nothing But Losers. Oh shoot, the name of that cover band that I forgot, and somebody else, but all the homies were there. All the homies were there for sure.
Well, I was there also. I was working the door that night. Actually, I got paid 50 bucks.
Oh,
I got
okay.
paid $50 for that, so I'm excited about. That was one of my favorites. I actually got to meet Nikki Thomas for Mike Vanek's wife for that one, and that was a real treat. I mean, I gotta say that was the peak. That was the peak of my performance as a doorman. That was actually one of my favorites. So,
What? So,
yeah,
so the Fat Cat is your favorite venue?
I can't say it's my favorite because like I said, I'm partial to all of to the Spinnakers, OP, and Fat Cat,
Mm-hmm.
but Fat Cat was my favorite that closed down. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, to kind of go back to your first question, I played Spinnakers, I've played the OP, I played Yosemite Lanes, and I played the Fat Cat, and I played the little festivals that they have out there, like the oh, what are they called? Lucky Fest. I was lucky enough to play Lucky Fest, the Summoning. So I've had a lot of awesome experiences in Modesto. I love Modesto.
What about X Fest? Did you have any experience with X Fest?
Oh yes, yes, yes. But it wasn't in Modesto though. I got to be at and perform at the one that was in Stockton.
Nice. Nice. That's a. Oh no, yeah. I was apparently I was there for that one too, and actually had a time of it. Um, but I actually wanted more to hear as much as we love the areas around our hometown. I'm asking if you played any of the big ones, like say oh like oh my god Warp Tour or one of those big ones, Hellfest or one of those big ones. Have you? I'm sure that you've actually played a few of them out there, also.
Haven't played any of the big name ones, unfortunately. That would be amazing. I've been to them. I've been to so many Mayhem Fests. I've been to so many Warp Tours. I've been to Sounds of the Underground. God, man, I've been so I've played some like decent sized fests, but none of the big ones. Like giving the Devil's Due, we got to play something called Wild Fest that was headlined by We Came as Romans and As Blood Runs Black,
Oh shit!
and that was a cool experience, but a shitty festival.
So
uh,
just a quick question, just because you brought it up. What were those guys like? Just out of curiosity. Those are big names right now. So to have you throw them out there, now you have to talk about it. I'm curious about that.
the like I didn't really get to mingle with the other bands, but like seeing them live were great. I got to say hi and just kind of shake the drummer from We Came as Romans. I got to shake his hand, say hi to him, and just kind of chat with him for about 2 or 3 minutes, and that was cool. But like, they sounded great when they played. Um, as Blood Runs Black, man, that is a band that still needs to be around. And if they are still around,
No,
I don't know if they're still around. I don't think they are. They haven't done anything record wise in
I
a
haven't
few
heard
years,
anything.
but they fucking killed it, dude. They were great. But the reason I say that festival is shitty. So I mean, I put on little fests myself. In like, I have Devastated Fest, which is a little fest, and
Right. We'll get to that one in a sec. That's the one I really want to give you props for. You want to give the full attention to, but keep talking.
thank you, I appreciate you, um, eh, dude. Like, how do you have 30 stages? And I'm not kidding, 30 stages, all spaced 6 feet apart from each other, and running all the bands at the same time? How do you do that?
Asking from experience, and I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to follow through just to see my suspicions. I would actually have them all 6 feet apart, and then have one box in between each one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, it was just a big jumble fuck because all the bands were playing at the same time. The sound was carried onto the other stages
Oh
to
my
the
god, I
to
saw
the
that.
po- yeah, to the point where you couldn't hear your band play. So it was rough. I'll just say that. But otherwise, once we got done with the set, it was fine. We had
How
a good
was
time.
How was the power supply? I remember one of the issues I had at one Lucky Festival I was working
Oh
sound.
man.
We had issues with our power box because the stages next door took up so much power that our summoning stage literally blew out our power because it was just they were just draining so much. They had lights, they had sound, they had dancers. Like they had like it was one of those party stages, and us over here on the mic can't even handle a little bit of power without our system going nuts. And like, what's going on? Like, they didn't give us our own power box. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god. So
Yeah, I was a part of that. I was on stage performing with Suburban Paranoia, and the power went out at least 5 or 6 times during our set.
not good, not
Yeah,
good.
it was rough, but we got through it. But it was rough.
That's very much true. We got through. I'm over here trying to unplug everything, plugging it back in. Traditional computer geek thinking. What are you gonna do? Plugging it in and taking it out and plugging it back in, and
Yeah.
eventually we got it. So sounds like you've been through hell when it comes to your own sets. So I guess leading into now the next question, as a as a now, I guess you mention yourself to be a promoter. What exactly are you doing to fix some of these issues for your shows or your setups?
Um, I don't necessarily know how to answer that question, but I will say this: um, every show that I put on, every festival that I put on, it's always been put together out of respect. Um,
Go.
and when I say that is, I decided, like, I've always kind of thrown shows per se. Like, even when I was like 14 years old, I was still contacting venues saying, "Hey, my band wants to play a show. Can we come through?" And they're like, "Oh, well, you need more than one band." I was like, "Cool." So I would go and find other bands, ask them to come play shows, and I would set up shows. So even at 14 years old, I was kind of doing this. So, but over time, from playing shows, I realized what to do and what not to do. And what to do is show bands respect, listen to their wants and needs, and then if they're reasonable, accommodate them, and be enthusiastic with every show that you do. That way, being enthusiastic gets all the bands hyped up for the show and hopefully gets them promoting the show. So the show will be a success. And I can only count maybe on one hand how many shows I have thrown that have been non successes.
There you go. That's one of the things that I remember. I remember being told is that every single time that you throw a show on, you want it. The idea appearance is important when it comes to that. When you are promoting, every show is your baby. No matter what happens, no matter who does it, you always want to be not just um positive, but you want to see it as an investment. So you want to be, like you said, you want to keep being positive. You want to keep being the go getter. Every single time there's an issue, you crack a smile and you keep going. You keep going. You keep going. And
Yeah.
one of the things that someone told me is that every single time something goes wrong, there is a dozen bands and very few promoters. So even if we do have problems, you pick yourself up and get on to the next one. Just keep on going, and eventually, hopefully, things pick up for you in the long run, and you laugh about it the next day.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
So the question. So as the now promoter, let's talk about Devastated Fest. How many times have you been given the "dude, that was awesome" email or a thumbs up, like when you had that? That was intense. I fucking loved it. Like every single time one band over, I'm just on there just going, yeah, they sound like this, yeah, they sound like that, yeah, they're this, they're this, and I think people actually got tired of me posting.
No, man. Actually, I think you posting really like built up the enthusiasm of the show. So I don't think that at all, actually. But doing Devastated Fest this year digitally was a lot of fun to see. Number one, like I feel like it gave bands an opportunity to be creative. We're currently in a pandemic right now. In most places, bands cannot play shows, so
Right.
it gave bands an opportunity to be creative, capture a video set, kind of hone their craft, and kind of represent who they are on video. So and they did just that. Some bands decided to just set up a camera and play a set. Other bands decided to do a whole production. You know,
Right.
mic everything, mix everything.
This was an
Uh,
opportunity to be like the last Undertaker WrestleMania style. It's like this isn't a video, just a small video inside of your house. This is like the whole thing produced and then put onto your site. I like whenever I watch it, I'm like, is it gonna be a music video? Is it just gonna be them just playing in their house? Is it gonna be in a record studio? Like just
mhm.
the fact that there was an unpredictability of what exactly you are going to see at the next song was
Yeah.
beautiful. That was a
Well,
beautiful setup.
well, yeah, yeah. So, it's like, you hit the nail on the head. Exactly. Like, gave them an opportunity to be creative and just get out there and show themselves to the world and expose themselves. But in the past, I've had 3 other Devastated Fests that were in person. Uh,
Right.
you know, each show had as little as 18 bands to 25 bands playing in one day. It was just 11 hours of just straight, heavy metal and vice versa kind of mayhem all day long, and it was amazing. And that is when I got the, oh my god, this was so awesome, this was so fun kind of compliments, which I enjoyed, because again, Devastated Fest was put together because I wanted to show bands what it was like to play a fest. Um, when I was in Giving the Devil His Due, probably about 2011, 2012, I had uh, an opportunity to play a fest down south called Zombie Fest.
Nice.
Uh, And I guess I'm a
Maybe not so nice. Uh-oh, not so nice.
maybe I'm a little overcritical. So, uh, there are things that bother me. Like I like when a show runs on time. I like when the bands do what they're supposed to do and get off stage and yada yada yada. Well, the promoters of this show, it just the fest didn't go very well. And I was joking around with the rest of the band, going, "Man, I could put together a better festival than this," and I did. It like not to be full of myself or anything, but I found it as a challenge. You know,
There you
I
go.
yeah, dude. Like I saw what they did with the festival down there, and I was like, "Nah, man, I can do way better than this."
This sounds like a traditional twister quote. Uh-oh, not so nice.
Yeah,
Apparently
dude.
didn't go so well.
So the things that I learned putting festivals together is you have to have capital, money. You got to have that money.
Right.
Um, so at first, the whole thing was okay. Bands got to sell tickets. Bands have to sell those tickets in order to help make up the cost of the headliner. And then that eventually turned into okay, I want you guys to sell the minimum amount of tickets, and then I want you guys to sell so many tickets so you could pay yourself. So, for example, for Devastated Fest
Thanks for
3,
play. Yeah.
I fronted pretty much like 80% of the bill. I had bands sell 10 $5 tickets. Not a lot of money to be made on my end, but what I did for them in that regard is hold them accountable to sell more tickets to more people and then keep the rest of the money.
Hmm.
So
Sounds familiar. Something.
yes, so, yeah,
Yeah.
so like for example, I kept the first 10. I kept I kept the money from the first 10 tickets, which wasn't a lot of money. But if a band went out and sold 50 tickets, they just made themselves $500-600. And that's what I wanted. I wanted them to not only promote the show, but pay themselves as well. And the last in-person Devastated Fest I had at the 924 Gilman Street in Berkeley uh,
Right. Right. Gilman
was,
was the one I was going to ask about earlier, but keep going.
but yeah, it turned out to be a pretty good success. So I'm happy with it. I think everyone else that played that show was happy with it, and the bands that were on that show, I was very happy with. So I want to do it again, but man, I got a little family now. I
That's a
got rent.
lot of work.
Yeah, rent and bills to pay. And I don't care about the work, but if I had the money and the
Right.
capital to put it on, I absolutely would.
Oh, the place to do it, man. That's a one thing down here in the Central Valley we have problems with is that we don't really have a ton of venues. I mean, Fat Cat was our national stage, and then taken down, and now we got the Gallo Center, which is basically making more, basically taking the brunt of what we were giving and what we were. Personally, I have nothing against the Gallo Center. I just feel in a personal way, I feel that Fat Cat was ours and the Gallo Center was theirs. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like they took ours and now we just either play with them or we don't play at all. And it just
Okay.
really I mean, that bothers me, and maybe I should hold my tongue because we are live, but just that idea. So I guess I do want to go back for a second to ask you how many of these Devastated Fests have you made or had so far?
I've had 3 in person and 1 online.
I have to say like I said, you make a lot of us proud.
Thank you, man. I
Um
appreciate you.
so we've talked about a lot about music. We've talked a lot about your staging. We talked about a lot about your bands. What comes next? I think that's a big one that a lot of your friends and family that are likely watching this want to hear about. What is your next steps?
Well, my next step is I think Suburban Paranoia is going to start working on a brand new music video. We have a couple on there. We have a cool self-made music video for "Where's Your God," which you can find on our YouTube, and then
Right.
we have what we call the quarantine video. I'm sure you've seen a few of those
Right.
for Run for Your Lives, which is also on our YouTube, so you can go check those out. But we are going to make our very first actual music video pretty soon, and that is going to be for the song "Digital Disease."
My personal opinion, and maybe I might be going a little bit overboard when I speak of this, but I know that when Wormflesh was doing a lot of their music videos, um, they actually brought a lot of Jamie Salazar and Joe Salazar together. Have you thought about using them for your music videos,
I
just like
haven't
Wormflesh did?
I haven't thought of it. Probably not for this upcoming one because we have a very isolated idea,
Hmm.
but maybe for the upcoming ones. We do have some ideas for upcoming videos, so that could be something in the future, but I absolutely love Jamie and Joe. I hope they are well, and I hope Bav Morta
Oh,
uh
for sure. Yeah.
gets going again.
Yeah. Joe and Jamie are sweethearts.
Mhm.
Big love, guys. If you're watching this, we love you. I
Mhm.
hope you're doing okay. Um. So wow, that is a lot. That's a lot to take in. Uh. So again, why don't you? Where can we find you again?
All right, my man. So, um, you can find me on Instagram at the real Brandon Blacker, and then you can find my band Suburban Paranoia on all social media platforms under Suburban Paranoia. And we're also on all streaming platforms as well. So Spotify, Apple Music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can find my other project, Giving the Devil His Due, GTDHD. You can find that on Facebook, so go check it out. Some nice hardcore for you.
There you go. And you can find me at Facebook for Hex Heart. That's HEX space HEART. You can also find me under Hex Heartless on YouTube or Christopher Pagano at CJPagano89 at gmail.com, which is my other YouTube, and that actually has a bunch of different videos of concerts that I've personally videoed of guys like this, and there's a lot of other stuff. So yeah, I'm also on Instagram for Hex Heart Promo. Um, and yeah, check that out. And I want to thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Brendan Blacker of Suburban Paranoia. You are a god among men for doing this at this time, and I'll talk to you guys later on Talking Shop with the Box and Boss. I think I got that backwards.
That's okay. That's okay. Lunchbox deserves a first placing every once in a while. But hey, man, thank you so much for actually, interviewing me and asking me questions. You did fantastic, my friend.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone. That's it for this stream. As always, we make today.